Thanks so much for coming, everyone. Really do appreciate it. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
As you all know, Glens Falls is an amazing place. And this year we celebrate our 115th anniversary as a city in 2023. It's been an honor to be the mayor in 2022, and it'll be an honor to preside during the 115th anniversary of this year. I've been looking forward to providing you an update on what the city's done in 2022 and what we have in mind for 2023. But before we discuss the highlights and goals, I'd like to take a look back at the last decade or so. Let's begin with everybody's favorite subject, taxes. I want to start with my favorite slide that charts the data over the last 10 years. I've lived in a house in Glens Falls worth approximately $150,000 for the last 25 years. And here's the tax burden that I faced. Several items right off the bat that I'd like to draw your attention to, and it's part of the handouts that you can take as you leave if you'd like more details or have trouble reading. But the blue on this slide represents the city's share of the total taxes, and the red represents the school district. The gray, Warren County's taxes, and the purple, the library taxes. You see how the city's share, the one that pays for the city services, is roughly 1/3 of this total average tax bill? Even though it's sent by the city as one bill, only about 1/3 of it that's on that bill supports the city. And as a result, it's the only portion of your tax bill that our city government has any influence or control over. I'd like to go on record by stating that no tax is a good tax, and that any tax increase is too much. But I'm still impressed with the budgeting of my predecessors, that over the last decade, the total city tax increase on this average home, valued at $150,000 over the last 10 years, was $237. That's less than a $24 increase each year. Among other important services, it supports a paid police and paid fire department, paid professional, in our small city of less than 4 square miles. Is now a good time to mention that in 2022, a study shared by news outlets and crime statistics and comparative crime rates showed that Glens Falls was the safest city in the United States? Oh, we should probably get back to taxes. So how is it that the city's taxes on average of assessed home went up $250 in the last decade? Well, over the last 10 to 15 years, our city has left 45 full-time positions and 8 part-time positions empty. Many of those positions have been attrited and will never come back. For those who remember when the city had an open pickup of yard debris year-round, well, now you can understand why the time frame is limited to just a few weeks a year. We don't have the staff to be dedicated to that job year-round anymore. The attrition cuts across most departments. The city used to employ 2 full-time DPW crews to lay cement. Now we have no cement crews, and the work is contracted out. We no longer have a standalone cemetery department, which used to include 8 employees, including a superintendent. Now, 2 people that are supervised by the DPW superintendent manage our Bay Street Cemetery, and 2 additional seasonal employees help with the summertime's groundkeeping. And let's not forget Bernadette Gray, the mayor's assistant, who's keeping the books for the cemetery. Our recreation department supervisor position has been empty for over a dozen years, and the current tourism director is the interim director. Our 3-person community development department was empty until this past year, when I hired a director to manage 14 grants, including the $500,000 community development block grant that we receive yearly from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. I've mentioned the less than $250 increase in property taxes in the last decade. Even with that and the attrition, the city has made some major investments. During this time, the city has spent $12 million separating storm and sewer water to save money, wear and tear on the wastewater treatment plant, and to protect our environment. The city's also spent $17 million to upgrade infrastructure on the city's water and sewer plant. In that time, the city's fund balance grew from just under $200,000 to more than $7 million at the end of 2021. $200,000 on a city budget that was $22 million. That's way too low. Those savings and that hard work get to a fund balance where it currently sits today is credited to Mayors Hall and Diamond. We all owe them our thanks for accomplishing this. I think that statistic is incredibly impressive. Throughout 2022, Glens Falls has continued its growth. We are a bustling, vibrant city. Our downtown looks amazing, and those positive changes will continue as our South Street revitalization finally starts. New businesses continue to open, and long-established businesses continue to invest in our wonderful city. For me, the time flew by. City Hall, I lived inside a whirlwind of meetings with business leaders and city residents, but mostly with our 16 department heads. I must have asked 1,000 questions and received 1,000 great answers, which led to more questions, all in an effort to gain a deep understanding of how each and every city department works. There are so many moving pieces and so few simple or easy answers to the issues that come with our work. Residents, businesses, employees, visitors, streets, trees, sidewalks, parking, permitting, taxes, water, sewer, purchasing, the cool assuring arena, the business improvement district, grants, parks, ponds. Let's not forget the 2 ponds. I'd like to thank the 16 department heads particularly for raising my awareness about all these moving pieces. I pushed everyone this year to think differently, to take their inventory of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I pushed them to ask how we can do better and how we can get more done with the limited resources that we have. So thank you to Amy Collins, Director of Tourism, Business Development, and the Interim Recreation Superintendent. I appreciate the applause, but we're going to be here way too long. Patrick Dowd, our Director of Community Development. Tim Drawbridge, our Director of Communications. Jeff Flagg, our Director of Economic Development. Tom Gerard, our Director of Public Superintendent, Public Works. Suzanne Kasich, our City Controller. Sue McEnany, our Sole Assessor. Megan Nolan, our City Clerk. Bill Norton, our Water and Sewer Superintendent. Justin Reckner, our new Building and Codes Enforcement Officer. Jeremy Schneibel, our City Engineer. Jamie Schrammel, our Fire Chief. Jared Smith, the Police Chief. Scott Sopcich, our Director of Transportation. Debbie Vaughn, our Purchasing Agent. And Judy Villa-White, our Human Resources Director. Let's hear it for them. I also need to take a moment to thank the 2 people who attempt to keep me organized and effective on a daily basis. Bernadette Gray, the Mayor's Secretary, and Chip McTiernan, the Special Assistant to the Mayor. It is my pleasure to report to you that the state of the city of Glens Falls is strong. Your city government is focused on moving Glens Falls forward. Having served 8 years as a member of the Common Council, I deeply appreciate the work that the current council is doing to push the city's agendas and my priorities forward. Our discussions are direct. Our debates on topics are healthy and issue-focused. Honest disagreements are an important, healthy, democratic I screwed that up. Let me try. Honest disagreements are an important part of a healthy democratic process, but we are fortunate that those disagreements are never personal or political in Glens Falls. I'd like to thank the current council members for continuing our practice of not allowing party politics to have any place in our chambers. So it's very clear to me that our city staff is committed each day to making a difference, and our Common Council is focused on moving us all forward with our limited resources. In 2022, I've worked to ensure 2 important things. First, not to screw up all the positive momentum the city is experiencing even throughout the COVID pandemic. To accomplish this, our economic and community development team has provided financial support through a number of federal and state programs to more than 15 small businesses this year alone. I've met with more than 2 dozen business leaders, both formally and informally, to understand their needs and address their concerns. Currently, city staff are administering 39 grants to move infrastructure, businesses, and our neighborhoods forward, and we're always pursuing more. Second, we need to improve efficiencies within each department in order to keep spending down and examine our opportunities for consolidation of services, like our plan to merge the Greater Glens Falls Transit System with the Capital District Transportation Authority, all while providing essential services and keeping our city tax rate as low as possible. I've also found a need to update our policies and procedures, which the city staff are addressing, to ensure that we are efficient, that we are collecting fees that are due to the city, and that we are lean and focused on service. In 2022, the city has accomplished a great deal. Our neighborhoods continue to benefit from investment with city, state, and federal money. In 2022, the city paved 23 streets at a cost of more than $500,000. That's double the number traditionally done using state highway funds, not property tax dollars. We also approved a contract in early August to have $1.5 million in sidewalk reconstruction work completed. As of this fall, nearly $560,000 of that work has been done, with the rest to be completed as soon as the ground thaws. This is also paid for state and federal grants, not city property tax dollars. As most of you know, we've signed an agreement with a contractor for the first phase of our DRI to purchase the former Hot Shots building and the so-called incubator building and renovate those two buildings along with the former Sandy's. All three will include both commercial and residential space, and that's nearly $14 million investment. The second phase is the new building on South Street and Elm Street, which will include 70 new apartments and commercial spaces, and that's roughly a $22 million investment. And of course, there's also our event and marketing center on South. We're working through the final design decisions and approvals from the state of New York and expect to be breaking ground on that this spring. In 2022, I authorized the use of $2 million of the city's ARPA disbursement to upgrade the city's water system to ensure our drinking water quality remains high and to perform the long-needed repairs on our water filtration tanks. Following a months-long study of practices and policies by an outside consultant, the city reorganized the Building and Codes Department and added new software to make it more efficient and responsive. Also last year, I directed a nonpartisan local task force to review the city's ward map and to make it consistent with the U.S. Supreme Court's one person, one vote rule. Even though the Supreme Court decision was issued in 1964, our research couldn't find any instances of changes to the city's ward boundaries since its inception in 1908. So it was clearly overdue, and our voters passed the referendum this November, and the new ward alignment went into effect January 1st. We also completed a citywide reassessment of properties, the first since 2005. Is this a good time to note that there are more than 5,700 parcels in the city? Who knew? The reassessment was done to ensure that all property owners had a fair and accurate assessment of their very own piece of Glens Falls. This updated assessment also ensures that all property owners are paying their fair share and not subsidizing others' taxes. As a result of this reassessment, 30% of the property owners saw a significant decrease in their taxes. 30% saw little to no change, and 30% saw an increase in their property taxes. Overall, the property tax rate in Glens Falls fell from $13.49 per $1,000 of assessed value to $8.38 per $1,000 assessed value. Now, isn't that amazing? For those of you who may be concerned that the new assessed value of a home is higher than its sellable price, during 2022, Glens Falls homes sold at prices that were on average 11% higher than their newly assessed value. Moving on, in October, the city completed the purchase of our streetlights from National Grid through a project funded by the New York Power Authority, and they were all converted to energy-efficient LEDs. This project not only includes smart city technology, but will also save the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy savings and operating costs over the next 20 years. So that's a big list, and it doesn't include our day-to-day work. City employees are doing the people's businesses, managing licenses, collecting and recording payments, ensuring our drinking water is clean, protecting our community from harm, repaving streets and updating sidewalks, seeking out grants and community needs, ensuring our sewer system works efficiently, planning, running, and managing events, working to build the foundation for a stronger future for residences, businesses, and visitors. I've had the honor of marrying 10 couples this past year. My friends would never believe it, right? But back to the day-to-day business. City of Glens Falls is hiring. Like many organizations, the city is having difficulty filling positions, made even worse by the disruption of COVID. In fact, our police department and our fire department are both in need of recruits for this new year. I want to encourage residents to consider serving our community and joining one of these two outstanding departments. After a year filled with achievement, I've set our sights on a brighter, bigger 2023. We are investing in our parks this year. We've earmarked $1 million of city ARPA money and more than $170,000 in county ARPA money that's been set aside for court replacements at East Field, Montcalm Playground, Sagamore Street Playground, and Murray Street Playground. We're moving ahead with a 2018 grant for the local waterfront revitalization. We'll be building trails on Pines Island to connect downtown to Haviland's Cove, and looking holistically at the recreation and redevelopment along the city's waterfront. This also includes the construction and installation of walking bridges across the feeder canal on Murray Street and Water Street as part of this waterfront revitalization plan. To ensure that our event and market center gets fully used, we'll partner with other organizations to grow current events in the city and plan more. We need to drive tourism and sales tax dollars up. The best events are going to bring people together to celebrate music, sport, culture, arts, food, and drink. Organizations in the city have already some great events that bring people here. Let's help LARAC and the Arts District of Glens Falls, Zonta, Kiwanis, and the Glens Falls Collaborative, the Civic Center Coalition, many others to help build on those events if we can. At the same time, we need to increase the revenue from the use of city properties and staff resources to help support our recreation programs. Also in 2023, we plan to engage community leaders and residents as we create community work groups, subcommittees of our common council committees to explore topics such as marketing and tourism, housing, business development, community engagement. Glens Falls is continuing to grow inside our 4 square mile footprint, and we'd like these work groups to work with city staff and council members to move new ideas forward, to look out 10 to 20 years in terms of planning. We need to ensure that we set up future mayors, future councils, and future residents of Glens Falls for success. We'll continue our investment in the neighborhoods with infrastructure updates. Last year, it was the wholesale reconstruction of Dix Avenue corridor. This year, Webster Avenue is on our transportation improvement plan, in addition to our regular sidewalk replacements and street paving. Even with all the infrastructure updates in our neighborhoods in the last decades, there's always more to be done. This year, we'll finish our complete streets policy and perform a citywide assessment of sidewalks and roads, and to develop a database of conditions to create a prioritized needs, a list of needs and projects. We also need to ensure that our streets are safe for bicyclists and pedestrians as well as vehicles. In 2023, it's my intention to complete the merger of the Capital District Transportation Authority with the Greater Glens Falls Transit Corp. This will stabilize our transportation services for our current riders and connect Glens Falls with the larger Capital District region. In 2023, Glens Falls will usher in a new era of communications and interaction with the public, using updated technology intended to reach businesses, visitors, workers, and residents. We purchased a software such as SeeClickFix, and we figured that since social media isn't going away, that we might want to join in on the party. Among the highest priorities this year will be increased cooperation and collaboration with the Warren County Board of Supervisors, the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce, the City Business Improvement District, the Civic Center Coalition, and the Downtown Business Collaborative. Working together is the only way we can ensure that we all succeed. Additionally, I've asked members of the Common Council to grab hold of an important but likely difficult issue, reviewing the parking throughout the city and creating a parking plan that enables us all to move forward. I like to call this the third rail of Glens Falls city politics. For those of you who are around when Maury Thompson asked Mayor Diamond about his thoughts about paid parking and knew that the storm that it created, you will probably question my sanity, and that's reasonable. There are a lot of factors that are coming together right now. The newest report on our parking use and utilization is expected soon. Our continued business growth, new apartments that are planned, more that are being encouraged. We need to lay aside any self-interest regarding parking and work towards a holistic plan that makes sense for the entire community. Residents, workers, visitors, business owners. So that's a big list for next year. I'm confident that we can do all of these things because like all of you, I believe in the Glens Falls difference. That's not to say that I'm naive. Some people drive through our downtown and walk around the many neighborhoods and comment how idyllic the city is. Is it Bedford Falls? Is it Mayberry? You could see how our city could be mistaken for the Frank Capra village of George Bailey or the TV town where Andy Taylor was sheriff. But Glens Falls is much better than Bedford Falls or Mayberry because Glens Falls is real. And the reality is that Glens Falls has so much going for it. We're growing, we're vibrant, and we are on the rise. But also, there is a reality that Glens Falls has plenty of challenges. Roughly 50% of our residents have an annual income that places them in HUD's need of service. Glens Falls is Warren County's city, but it is also the center of services for not only Warren County, but northern Washington County and northern Saratoga County. The city hosts 90% of the providers of human services for those in need in our region. We must be careful that we don't take more properties off our tax rolls. The city as a community, we must be sure that we can do all we can to help those who are down and out. For those facing homelessness, dealing with issues of substance abuse and mental illness, we cannot and will not ignore those in need. The city's fortunate to be home to many of these organizations that can help. We're familiar with them, many of them, because we provide funding through our block grant to those service providers. We must ensure that we continue to help to connect those in need with the services that can help. And that's why we're hiring a new social worker in 2023 who can be a conduit between our police and firefighters and the service providers. Many city employees are the frontline respondents, and the social worker can be the connection between them and the wide variety of services that are provided right here in our community. We've always been a city that supports those in need, as much as we've been a city that supports hard work and determination. That is the Glens Falls difference. Strength, vibrancy, focus on others as well as self. I understand that path ahead isn't going through Mayberry. There are challenging discussions ahead. There are challenging decisions to make. We will not shy away from the hard work of those discussions or those decisions. We can. In 2022, our work in 2022 and our plans in 2023 clear the path for the growth of our businesses, the vibrancy of our neighborhoods, and the connecting of those in need to the services already here. The city staff and the Common Council will continue to focus on both the short and long-term challenges to map out the brightest future for our city. We want to ensure that our city has what it takes to draw people, including our children, back from college, back from the larger cities, back to hometown USA. We know that younger workers are moving into cities to live and work as never before. We need to be sure that Glens Falls is positioned to be the ideal place to live, work, and play. We want our community to be compelling enough to attract the young professionals to return. People like Jeff Mead, Xander Frost, Darcy Giotti Grubbs, Ben Miller, and hopefully Ben, Luke, and Aiden Collins. Give me time. As I said in my inaugural address, Glens Falls has everything going for it. huge community spirit, safe, walkable family neighborhoods, a kind, engaged citizenry, a strong school system, paid professional fire department and police department, an excellent hospital and healthcare system, world-class museums and theaters, and a symphony orchestra, caring social service organizations to help those in need, safe, clean drinking water, and a well-run wastewater treatment facility, an outstanding public library, and a healthy, growing business district. Creating a community that we all want to live in with kind, helpful friends that make the city an attractive place to live and work is at the heart of the Glens Falls difference. Thanks so much for being here and taking the time to meet with me and to take time out of your busy day to be here. It shows your interest and your commitment to Glens Falls, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you all. We will take a couple questions just because I'm daring. How about news organizations? Mark, you want to go first?
My issue's already at the printer, so I have no questions till next week.
Oh, that's great. Anyone? Yes.
Well, I don't jump for joy when I get my tax bill.
Yes.
I don't agree with the attitude that taxes are bad.
Gotcha.
And my question is, if you received 5% more in taxes than what you have, how would you spend that, or how would you see that being spent, and be as specific as possible?
Well, 5% more in just, say in the city.
Your budget goes up 5% because you have more tax revenues.
Well, I would try, I think my job is to make sure that your tax bills don't go up 5% more. I think that there are a ton of things we're not doing, and that our building DPW cannot do. That there are departments, there are empty holes everywhere. Again, you've got entire departments gone. Recreation's probably one of the biggest, right? If you look at our recreation department, I've got Amy Collins is our interim director, and Yvonne, who's working full-time for us, and that's it, right? And we hire some summer help and things. I think that could grow, but I think that if you go to the residents and say, are you willing to pay for it? I don't think many of them are. I think it's one of those things where I'd like to grow it, and what I'm doing right now is taking advantage of the federal ARPA dollars to increase investments in our parks and a rec program, but it's very difficult. I think that it's tough. There are many people who call about year-round open pickup. We only do a week or two in the spring and in fall. Many senior citizens call and say, in summertime, can't you do it? I remember when you could. But when I ask those people, would you be willing to pay for it with increased taxes? I get a quick no. I get a quick no. And I think that is something that residents could consider. I mean, I think that I'd listen to you what you think is most important. I don't know. I actually think that I worked for 18 years with Special Olympics. We ran a sports program with 60,000 athletes with less than 60 employees. We did it using volunteers. I think that we should look at that for many of the events that are happening in Glens Falls. Right now, some of our events, when we close down a street, we're paying DPW 4 hours of overtime to open up and close down that street. They're willing and happy to do it and do a great job, but I don't know that that's the best use of your tax dollars. And I'm meeting with those event directors to see what we can do. We need to look at every penny to see how we can do it better. Another question? Yes?
Not actually a question, I just wanted to say thank you for being a catalyst for change for affordable housing. So we had the Hobby Street Habitat for Humanity, Hobby Street revitalization we couldn't have done without you and your team. With your ARPA funds, we're able to invest in a project at Lawrence Street. We're going to have 10 new affordable rentals, and we're hoping to squeeze another 8 in there next year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes?
I know, speaking to the people at Glens Falls Transportation would be the best answer for this, but can you talk a little more about the plan to merge Greater Glens Falls Transit with Albany Transit and what that'll do for you and for the community here and down Albany?
Well, for the community, for riders, many people wouldn't know that Greater Glens Falls Transit, developed by none other than Ed Bartholomew, is an anomaly, right? To have a city-run transportation authority. First of all, it's really small. As transportation authorities go, it's tiny. And the fact that it's run by the city is unusual. And so what we've done is we've struggled over the last several years, especially during COVID, to keep drivers and to keep routes going. And the community, I think, again, most people don't understand how many people ride it and how many people ride our transportation system to get to work, from Hudson Falls to Glens Falls, from Glens Falls to Queensbury and Lake George. It's got a high usage rate per capita. It's a great service. So the goal of consolidating is twofold. One is to make sure that we can continue to provide the services that we are. We've actually needed and gotten the help of CDTA over the last couple of years. They've loaned us employees. They have loaned us many people in the summertime with the increased. And right now, we, for the first time since COVID, had to limit our normal transportation routes. And it's because we had a driver leave and one out because of COVID. And that's the first time. And it's only because of the work that they've been able to provide us. It's very precarious, very difficult, and it's mostly state and federal dollars that support that transportation system, not the communities that do it. We do contribute a little, and I oversee it as the mayor, but it's really not. And so CDTA has a number of resources that we couldn't imagine. You know, the shared bikes that we have, we wouldn't have them if it was CDTA. We couldn't afford the upstart cost of getting those bikes to that, and it was only because of the work done by people and CDTA to make that possible. So it's about maintaining those services and hopefully growing them over time, but in this case, when you're doing something like this, you can't commit to any growth. You just want to make sure you don't limit or eliminate any services for a period of time, and that's what we're looking to do. Yes?
Have you noticed an uptick in crime over the past year, and if so, do you and the police department have a plan to combat that?
Yeah. No. So I'm not a very good politician because I'm usually way too direct. And so I'm going to be direct with you. No, I don't think we have seen an uptick in time. I think Glens Falls is so small that you hear about every single instance of crime that you don't hear in other communities. I think that right now I can't comment on the particular spree of I think 3, if not, there's 3 instances we think might be related. And then there's a few others that have happened outside of the city that we think also might be related. And we can't comment on current investigations. But I encourage you to come back to me in a month from now when this investigation's done. And I think what you'll find is that some poor fellow who's, or woman, some poor person who's been down and out for a long time, probably in trouble for a while, has done several desperate things and is going to find himself in jail. And then we'll go remember that. You know, the last time I left town, I went to Dublin. We had a bank robbery, so I am not going out of town. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. You're welcome. One last one. Yes.
I will
please.
say two comments. Many people come to see us at the bank, and if they haven't been here in a while, they comment very positively about the city and seeing all the things that are going on and how vibrant we are and the all that's going on downtown. And related to that is, for a small department that you have, how beautiful it is downtown. The flowers during the season and the Christmas decorations and stuff. You should be very, very proud of what you have there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's I couldn't fit everything in this that we've done, but I also recognize some of the things that Glens Falls have that I talk about the Glens Falls difference is the public-private cooperation. Every time somebody comes to tell me how beautiful City Park looks, we need to make sure that we're mentioning the business improvement district. It's a collaboration that is, and I'd like to see that grow. As much as we have done and how good it looks, if you take a good walk downtown or around, you'll find things that need to be cleaner, sidewalks that need to be corrected. And I think that we need to utilize some key volunteers. I talked to Mark Levac about this maybe 6 months ago, about getting an additional group of people that can help us do the work that the DPW can't get to, right? They are great and they are doing full, but their capacity is limited based on the cuts that we've made. And so I think we need to work together in that way, as opposed to me hiring our way out of it. If I do that, you're gonna see our fund balance drop. You're gonna see taxes go up, and I don't think we need to. We can. It wouldn't be responsible of me to do. I didn't mention those cuts because we can hire our way out of it. I didn't. I didn't hire our communications director so that we could send out press releases, although we've sent out more in the past 4 months and probably than we have in the past 4 years. Okay, but what we need is a full communication plan. What he's working on is about interacting with you in different ways. Right? We have is it Twitter or Instagram that we have, Jeff? Sorry. Yeah, what's that? Instagram. We have Instagram. Right? I mean, out of all of it, right? I mean, most people I know, especially my kids' age, are getting all their news from social media accounts. Glens Falls needs to, it's not going away. Technology's not going away, no matter how much we wish, right? That's it. Thank you.